Okay, so welcome for Jinkies and tea contemplation. Today we are discovering a 20-second Jinki, but you said you are new to the system. Yeah? So it's based on your date of birth. You can calculate your personal chart. Okay. The system itself based on I Ching, the 64 hexagrams, and how we have different energies in us based on our personal chart. And every key can be represented or interpreted in 3 levels, which we call shadow, gift, and siddhi. Like the lower vibration, where we act through fear, the higher vibration, where we act through love, and the highest vibration, where we act, where it is already a divine state, so it's not even personal quality. And we also have like a transition of sun and how it moves, and it activates there every 6 days a new key, a new energy that affects all of us. Of course, for those who has a personal chart, it can feel stronger, but still we can feel these dynamics. And right now it's the 22nd Jinki, which is in fact my birthday tomorrow. It's my son. And it's and it's a key of graciousness and grace, the shadow, dishonor, the gift, graciousness, and the seed of grace. And so how this also setup works is that we're having the contemplation. First, we start with shadow and a tea. Then we have moments of sharing, questions, and we move to gift, and then to higher state Siddhi. And we do a little practice at the end as well. Meditation to go to feel through all this energy in our own body. But as well, while we're going through this transmission, I invite to feel into yourself, to feel into this energy, to feel, for example, when we're going to speak about dishonor, where is it in you? And how do you think, where is it in your life as well? And how this works in your system. And we're going to have different teams.
Yeah, so basically we have 3 different kinds of teas. The green we'll start with is light. Red, pagoda. This is a bit stronger, deeper, and aromatic. And then the crescendo with the puer, which is shu puer. It is like a fastly fermented process, so it's more deep, even deeper. And we do that on purpose so that we can design the journey follows the tea follows the journey. So we have this beautiful change of frequency whenever we move into different levels of frequency. As mentioned, the 3: dishonor, grace, graciousness, and grace. Yeah. So
yeah, let's start with the shadow. And what is the shadow itself? It's the lower frequency where we experience this quality through fear. The grace itself is, I would say, the most mysterious from all 64 keys. And it's also divine feminine. And it's the energy of grace that heals all 6 core wounds of humanity. There are also in the system several, what we say, like core wounds or seals, which are represented on a personal level and on the collective level, which are repression, denial, shame, rejection, blame, and separation. And there are certain, let's say, antidote for each of them. But the grace is the energy that can heal and transmute all of them. So we don't know where this contemplation today will lead us. As Richard Roth, he's a creator of Jinki system, he was saying that this week, the 22nd Jinki, it's a theme of wounds and wonders. Okay. Let's start with the green tea.
So we can just bring the tea towards us. Just feel the energy in your hands. This fine cup of jasmine carries with it a message, carries with it codes for us to experience ourselves in a new way, in a deeper, more profound way, and may it guide us, support us in this contemplation of one of the deepest gene keys in the 64 key of grace. And we just bring it close and imbibe its smell, and then
In Chinese tradition, there's also a way when you drink tea. Will you explain?
the slogan.
Yeah.
Yeah, so in the Chinese tradition, the tea is also part of it's a tool for meditation. So that's why we use it to assist us on this contemplative journey. Just by doing these small actions, such as engaging the sense of smell, as well aerating the tea. So like people do in Europe with wine, you can feel more and experience more what this tea has to offer. And thus, it also is part of the meditation of this. It's part of the practice of meditation, essentially.
Okay, so yes, and we start, as I said, with dishonor, the shadow of this key, and this key is also represents the emotional process and how we process emotions, and this is one of the two keys of awakening, of a human awakening on individual and collective level. There are two keys, 22 and 55, that presents the process of awakening and activating the higher mind, let's say, activating spirit. The 55 is a process of evolution when the energy like Kundalini rise and activates higher consciousness. The 22nd is an involution, it's invocation. It's the grace coming, the energy coming from the top to down to the bottom and changing our system. So whenever we in the transmission of this key, this week it started at 7th of March and it goes till the 13th of March. And what it said, like, we never know what the grace will bring. The grace is the Siddhi. Because we used to think that grace is something that we want to experience as a nice, it's something that gives us pleasure or nice feelings. But in fact, grace can come in different ways. Sometimes life can take something away from us, which we think we need, and we're attached to this, and we don't know that this is grace. But through time, we can see that in fact it was like for the better. So this key teaches us to be kind of aware of all of the emotional process that's happening with us and don't become a victim of our own emotions. And one of the most important lessons here of this key is accountability. Dishonor happens because we are not accountable. We're not accountable for our emotions, for our processes, and we we tend to project it outside and blame and put it into others instead of being aware and kind of being responsible for our own emotional processing. As this key, as I said, it connects with emotional field, with emotional body. So it has, in fact, a huge way of huge impact on emotions of others. When somebody is experiencing this gift and like this open heart, it can touch others, it can make their heart open. But as well, if it's somebody's in the shadow, it can make everything very tense. And it's interesting, like Richard Rudd, again, the creator of System, when he's sharing about this key, he's also giving examples of like a finance, like somebody who doing finance like analysis, like that. We need to see a clear picture of what's going on with us. Like this key teaches us a lot of honesty and self-honesty, not thinking, because it's very popular, I would say, in spiritual world to go into higher realms, but escaping, integrating all this energy into physical body and not being really, not developing maturity, but developing some kind of escape. And then trying to always live on a high note, but being not accountable for own, for example, emotions, reactions, everyday life, being not mindful, being present, because as he said, the graciousness, the gift, for example, it starts only with presence. But for us, for our mind, it's boring to be in presence. We love these emotions, we love this trauma, we love this experience, we love the stories. But graciousness is a gift that cannot be activated unless we cultivated the presence first. And even like, for example, right now, when we drink tea, the tea ceremony is one of the beautiful processes or ways to connect with presence. That's why also they comes together as it's a way to, like to feel how you touch the cup, to smell, to be aware of everything, and to think what we should contemplate this week is how we dishonor others and also how we dishonor ourselves. And what does the dishonor means? And this key, in a way, it also teaches some radical way that, like, whenever we go into emotional reaction, we dishonor others and we dishonor ourselves. It's not about that we shouldn't have them, but it's about how we're able to stay present and feel them instead of suppressing or projecting, pushing it away, or like trying to put it into others. And of course, it's all interconnected with our core wound, because the way how we would react is also would be what is programmed in our core wound. For example, as I said, there are 6 core wounds of humanity, which we has, if you calculate your chart, then you will see there is a certain sphere, I can show later, where there is the number of your core wounds. The first is repression. And this comes when we suppress what we feel, we suppress the body. It's the kind of suppression of spirit in the form, and it's disconnection from the body and from emotions, and like basically just from yourself. The energy is a spirit that's suppressed, that we can and then when we have this program, we can experience like, oh, it's others suppressed. Like we can have, like this child can have, for example, very violent parents, or parents that doesn't accept their like truth or partners in these things. But it all brings us attention inside, or denial, which is reactive pattern, which is immediately reacts and bring anger outside, which has zero capacity to look within unless the person starts to cultivate mindfulness. And then there's shame that connects with feeling of unworthiness. And then it creates a greed and self-egoism, and but not self-love. And in fact, the love, universal love, is the antidote for the shame. So there is like every wound, maybe we cover it a bit later as well if we have time. And there is like kind of antidote for this. And so if to say shortly, for repression, it's the truth. It's learning to be honest. It's learning to see truth, to speak truth, to come back to the body, to not deny the body. And it's an energy of the Siddhi of, it's like connect with Archangel Michael and the energy of cutting through all the fears. And there is for denial, there is somebody who learn to be in more ease and light energy and accept everything without denial and being in a strong mental frames all the time. Then for the shame, it's love, it's self-love, it's universal love, it's humor. Then there's next wound is rejection, and rejection is what keeps us, creates barrier, creates conflicts, creates separations, because we can't trust, we can't open ourselves, and we are afraid of intimacy, we're afraid of vulnerability. That means if somebody has a core wound of rejection, we'll always attract like partners who are not available, or who can't expect fully be together, or like emotionally not available, or the person out of the fear of rejection will reject first, and things will play out. Then there is a blame that is heals with forgiveness, and there is a separation, which is heals with truth, the seed of truth, the universal truth, and with the connection, in fact, and care, self-care, and care about others, and learning not to be like ignorant and indifferent. And as I said, the grace, it's the one that comes and it has all the rays, all the frequencies that can, in a one moment, kind of heal it all in our system, in our DNA. So it's very powerful and important energy. In fact, I remembered a long time ago when I was in Moscow, and there was, no, in fact, it was St. Petersburg. The rich brat was given, he was coming to Russia, and he was given a one-day retreat workshop about the grace. We've been activating this 22nd energy of grace. And there were certain exercises we did in groups where he gave us a quote saying, "Suffering is a grace." And it's one of the key notes of this key. And he gave us this quote and asked us to contemplate on that and feel, to share in the groups, 3, 4, 5 people, to contemplate on that and share what you will feel about this, why you think, what does it mean for you. So maybe we can do it right now as well today. And we just contemplate this quote right now and how we can understand it. What does it mean that suffering is a grace? What do we understand what the suffering is? What do we feel? Why it's a grace? There's no like right or wrong answer here. This is more an invitation for this journey of meanings. So, I want to start.
We want to share about what is the
this
suffering?
Like this
The
quote
grace is
that
suffering.
suffering is a grace. What does it mean for you?
Mm.
How do you understand it? You can say I don't agree with it, or you can say, like whatever, or you can say if my life experience it like this. Like, what does it mean for you?
Well, would you like to share first?
No, you can.
Okay. I'll give you a chance to contemplate.
Yeah.
I agree totally with this saying, or this this metaphor. Because I mean, for me, how the grace has shown up in my life is always through intense moments of suffering. I have this key. So in the Gene Keys chart, I have this key in my essence. It's the what's called the pearl, and it's like your inner core. And so for me, it's even more of a mysterious key because it's really deeply embedded in underneath everything that I do. And to get it out, to get that deep part of it out, I have to really either be in absolute alignment or just through spontaneous awakening, this energy can arise. And I think through suffering, we can have revelation can happen. I won't go into the details of these experiences, but I had like a few intense, traumatic, traumatizing experiences. One was actually through shamanic plant medicine. I did it myself. Naively, I thought I was ready for some experiences. I didn't, and through that experience, which was very psychologically traumatizing, like very, very intense, because it revealed to me so much more than what I was expecting. Even though I wanted to receive that some kind of idea of that experience, but the experience itself was vastly superior to that, and it was very intense. And in that experience, I just felt all of the suffering of existence. I was experiencing myself as the whole suffering of humanity. Yeah, and I was asking the universe, I was asking God, or I was asking myself, like, make it stop, like, please, like, this is it's too much, it's too intense. And then through that suffering, there was some being, some presence some being which I've connected with this being briefly beforehand in another experience, but this was different. This was like a full savior that came in and say the savior, like, which we can call Christ, is one archetype of the savior, showed up for me. And I'm not religious, and I wasn't brought up to be religious, although I have baptism, but I did experience some being that I knew straight away who it was. And it's hard to describe when you know something that's not logical. Like, it's not like someone taught me something.
No.
Perhaps in my past lives I have remembered something, but it just clicked. And this being come through what I describe as grace, because it was without condition. There was no condition for this being to come. It just decided to come through my suffering in a way. And I was able to kind of feel the mercy of grace, essentially. And it felt like, yeah, a warm light, a warm golden effulgent, a bit like this mural, this warm golden effulgent kind of embrace. And when I hear the word grace, I always remember this experience. Yeah. And then later on, I had another experience where it was less out of body and more in the body. And in that experience, I called upon this energy. I actively called upon it, but I would say I also think that's also in some ways can be grace, because I think for me at least, this is just me speaking openly, is I think grace kind of requires your surrender. So there is obviously the active part of grace, but then there's a part where you also kind of surrender to life. You surrender to yourself, what's happening inside you. And inside there, once you it's like cracking an egg open. When you break this egg open, it's in there, something called grace. So yes, I agree. For me, suffering reflects so much of grace, as I've only experienced true grace, or I've only experienced grace through suffering. So,
Thank you, Sean. Thank you.
for listening.
Yeah, I don't really have anything specific to say, but I would agree with it in that, you know, any sort of suffering we've had, I feel like it shines a light on your core essence and who you are, and how you've overcome that suffering, and therefore how strong you are, your strength, and your trust in something bigger, I suppose, in order to get through, get by.
I feel this quote that for me, suffering, like what is, I would say, suffering is where, when it comes into where I experienced it in my life, when for some reason I was not connected or denying the truth. And the suffering is like a mark, like a flashlight that is saying that you have to realign with yourself. And I would say more from like a spiritual level, what does this quote mean? That the suffering leads us towards ourselves. The suffering showing that we forget ourselves in duality in this world of drama, of like different shadows, material, and that we're not in union of spiritual and material. We forget who we are, forget our spirit, our core, and that the suffering comes as a way to make us question and make us search for deeper answers and surrender as well. I would say there is difference between, for example, pain and suffering. Like I can experience uncomfortable emotions, and I can experience pain, but doesn't mean I need to suffer from it. If I suffer from it, that means I identify with a story about something, and I become a victim of this story. Because I, instead of, let's say, remembering who am I in the truth, in the grace, I identified with some story, some small aspect of this, and then I hold on to the story, and like kind of, instead of just feeling something and let it move, even if it's pain, even if it's uncomfortable, identifying with that. That's then where the suffering will come. And last time in my life I experienced suffering was, I would say, in at the end of 2023, when I'm in the process of separating, the kind of my spirit, my soul told me to separate from its partner, but I didn't want to do this. And then I was like denying the truth, let's say. And then certain things happen where even somebody else appeared in my life and I knew I had to move to this another man, that he would be like a bridge that would just help me to make this leap. But still it was hard for me to make this choice, and that was what will create suffering. Because I identify myself with that story, with that relationship, with everything that was created, with everything that invested into this and all these things, because they were not like the relationship was bad. That was just they served its purpose and it was time to go. And I identify with that and I didn't want to. I started to argue with, let's say, my soul and spirit, and that was what created suffering. Not the emotions itself, not the uncomfortable feelings, but the attachment and ideas and not ability to let go. So I would say, if I would say this, what does it mean for me? That if I feel suffering, like not emotions, but real suffering, that means I forget myself. It means I fall asleep. I disconnected in this moment from the truth, and the suffering is like a red light that's saying that I need to recalibrate. And how I can recalibrate in a way through surrendering to grace or to some higher, I would say, higher dimension. Because if I identified with something like wherever I can't, I'm not myself in this moment, then in a way I need to call for higher powers and surrender to it. Like when I accept that I don't know my way, but like when I accept that I don't know, in fact, the way, maybe I know my way, but my way doesn't need to be right. Maybe I just attach to something and I just need to surrender to the bigger pictures of this and call the grace in this moment.
Can I also add something about the grace? Or this sentence, like surrendering is, or suffering is grace. In a way, it reminds me of what the Buddha shared as well. It's funny. The Buddha shared that life is suffering. So he said that this is dukkha. That was, I think, his first noble truth that was revealed to his students, was that life is suffering. And I think that is, in a way, a bit of a paradox, because in a way, he's kind of saying that life is only suffering. That it's only, even if we are even if we're in the grace, even if we're in this very high frequency, in a way, what's happening is it's always going to be suffering, because it's always just a play of different let's say aspects of consciousness, different aspects of consciousness playing out. This, in a way, this separation is it's a form of suffering, because we're kind of always disconnecting from each other by virtue of us being in different bodies, in different clothes, and all these things necessitate suffering, because they don't necessarily lead us, or they don't lead us, in fact, to union. They don't lead us to oneness. So in a way, the suffering is very prevalent in everything we're doing, and it's the coin, it's the flip side of oneness, wholeness. And then in order to experience ourselves as separate from oneness or unity, we necessarily are in this samsara, what's called suffering, dukkha. So it's this strange paradox where to experience oneself as the I, as a version of the truth, I have to suffer in a way. I have to accept my suffering. So that's where I think in the Christian tradition or through the Christ, sharing about suffering as grace, so that we must bear the cross, and this sort of some people would say rhetoric, but in a way there is wisdom embedded there, because in a way it's us living it's us being who we are. It's us being in this play, in this field of
I would say to
consciousness.
add to this noble truth in a way that the life is suffering when we don't know our true nature, because then we're not conscious of how we live, and we believe that everything, let's say that all the Maya is real, and then we have two tendencies of the mind. We try to hold on to things that give us pleasurable feelings, sensations, and we try to like reject or deny things that give us not pleasurable feelings. And we're always in this fight. Something we try to hold, something like hold on, something we try to push away, and we're always in this. And imagine if you're doing this all the time, it's creating a lot of suffering that we just don't know, because we're not in a center, we're not integrated. We're not living from the presence in each and every moment. We're not living from the truth. We're not living from integration of duality. We're living from this, like one side or another, trying to attach to something, or then to like release something. And that always creates, in a way, a drama, because we're never free in it. In this game, we're never free. Because we can have, like, say, amazing relationship. We can say, oh, like, I'm so happy. But then if something happens, for example, with this relationship or with this person, something else, then we're not happy anymore. We're in pain, we're in suffering, because we identify ourselves with this. Our center, our core, we put into that relationship, we put into that person or that work or something, and we say, my happiness determined by this. I'm happy because I have this, for example. Not I'm happy because I know my true nature and I'm who am I in a deeper level, not, but I'm happy because of this or because of that. And that's always creates, then it creates a fear to lose it, for example, that we might not be in very consciousness of all the time, but it still will be dynamic. And then we're like, it creates anyway all these types of anxiety, different feelings and things that we need to be mindful of how we move through this. But when we know our true nature, then even if we experience life, we will not lose ourselves. It's not that we only like to go to caves and become monks, but it's more about that how we can move through life with integrity, I would say, without losing ourselves or without believing that this all is kind of real, but also not denying, not creating separation in our own minds. That is the hardest job, let's say. So yeah, and then speaking about dishonor in a way of how we dishonor the truth, dishonor our
It's knowledge, just yeah.
Dishonor our feelings, because it starts with the feeling, it starts with emotion. I said 22nd GK is very emotional. And it starts with us learning how to be with our own emotions without reacting, without denying, without like suppressing them, without projecting them, but just being in state of let everything move when it comes, staying grounded in the center, something like this. And so with this key, first of all, we'll learn this emotional accountability. And he even gives this exercise like to every evening by the end of the day, take a note, like a notebook, and write down which emotions you experienced during the day. All of them, good, bad, doesn't matter, just all what you've been feeling during the day. And then you can start to be more aware of the process and be more aware of what you're going through and be more aware of your own suffering, or not suffering, but with what's going on with you, and learn that every emotions are not your enemy, but they're also not here for you to identify with them. You can feel them, but you don't need to react on them, and you don't need to deny them. You don't need to go away. You can be with all of it. Yeah, and in the way it's quite radical here with the way how Richard Rudd shares about this, because he said that, for example, let's say different situations happens and your partner can have some discomfort and then project this discomfort into you, and then you go into defensiveness because you feel it's unfair and it's not like justified, and then you both go into conflicts and arguments. So this case teaches us to have like a clean emotion process, to see how we get entangled with emotional dramas and everything, and to see how we can learn to, for example, express ourselves from vulnerability. It's not that emotions are enemies, but the more what we do with them, how we handle them. Like, do we allow ourselves even to fully feel them, or we try immediately like to either suppress or project them?
Yes. We have pagoda. I was going to say where, because I saw it is from Yunnan, which is same region as I believe it's in the north, or not, south and west, I think, Yunnan province. Yeah. So you'll notice with this tea, different frequency. It's more flavoursome, a little bit more comes out through this tea. It's deeper, more embodied, let's say.
I feel like it's very grounding. Yeah. I like it.
It's one of my favorites.
Yeah, so
You
beautiful.
can buy it here.
Even smells amazing. You can buy it in Bali.
This is the name of the name of the
Okay.
shop.
Right. Thank you.
And so, and then, like, of course, like we can make mistakes with humans, but how we learn from mistakes, how we begin to integrate them. This key is requires for us to be like 100% honest with ourselves, and then through this with others. It said that like the new way of human being can be born only when we integrate our emotions. Otherwise, we will be always just victims of them, and then make others victims of our own emotions as well. And then it's going to be this constant loops, which never gonna end. and it requires a different way of relating with ourselves and with others. It requires like a big shift. It's just way more. It's also saying about not pretending, not trying to play roles. I said like it's better to be fucked up than aware of this than to pretend and stand in some like glorious state, but be not aware of yourself and what you're doing and how you're treating yourself and others. And this is a common trait that this new age spirituality where we think, oh, this is some high frequency, but it's absolutely not integrated, and there's no presence in it, there's no mindfulness, there's no real spirit. It's avoidance in a way where we try to escape integration through higher states, and we don't want to take accountability of our daily actions and what these actions creates in the life, what ripple effects this action will create.
Yeah.
So it requires a lot of honesty. The victim of this key is victim of this victim would be like this, that I can't look in myself. I don't want to see myself. I don't want to see myself. I don't want to. I just like it's escaping. I don't want to know what's really going on with me. I'd rather like escape into work, for example. Like there's some people they escape into work or into sport, or they try to escape through relationships, sexual connections, or some people try to escape through spiritualities, through just going into high states all the time, or doing ayahuascas all the time, or other things which are when we're not integrate that, let's say, and then this is a victim of this key would be this escaping and not facing the truth, the reality in yourself, your own shadows, your own patterns. And the graciousness is a completely different way. The graciousness of the gift, where we are in maturity, where we are treat ourselves and others in a gracious way, where it's like this is a rare quality in the world, because most of the people don't aware of themselves, and then as a result of it, of their action and what it creates in a world, in like just like first of all in your nearest environment, how it affects others, and then genre as well that brings us back into shadow. So this key teaches us a lot of mindfulness, and as I said, seeing an honest picture of yourself, and accepting it with grace. And that's maybe also where we can say suffering is grace, because it's better to be aware of suffering, and only then you can really do something about it, than to escape and pretend until life smacks us, because it do sometimes through health, through some situation that's randomly happened, and we do something where something's going on when we don't, like, let's say when our normal way of living suddenly interrupted for any reasons, and it can't be continued like this. And then there's also the way how life interferes to make us aware of illusions we are creating, so we can start being mindful about ourselves. Yes, so on this note, I just want to have a moment of sharing about shadow before we go into higher state. I will just pause right now. So what I once realized, in fact, in my first ayahuasca ceremony a long time ago, that when the live will be finished and we will go through Bordeaux, the only what we will take with us is the energy of the soul and energy of, let's say, that happening that were generated in the moment of alignment. Nothing else. And only when we were in presence, in alignment with our soul and what we were, let's say, our dharma, what was came here to do, when that generates this frequency, this field of light, that then help us in the moment of transition. Anything else, wherever our success, material, other, whatever will not lift from alignment will just fade away. It means nothing at the end of the day. So, and then I realized that, in fact, I remember that, well, in fact, I'm doing spiritual practices not for have a better life here. In fact, I'm doing this to generate that sort of field, that certain strengths of light energy in my system that will help me in the moment of transition.
Likes the Sri Yantra. He's like, oh, grace. It's pretty.
Yeah, so just wanted to share this thing. Yeah. Let's come to graciousness, and what does this mean? We started a little bit of this quality of softness, acceptance, but in the softness and acceptance, there is a core. It's not that, oh, I just like accept anything and I don't have boundaries and I just will be nice with everybody and whatever happens. No, it has the capacity to treat yourself and others with grace. So it doesn't deny yourself. It doesn't say, oh, I will just do everything for others, but I will forget about myself. No. It knows that anything we give, we first give to ourselves. And the graciousness is a very soft and tender quality in a way, as it's also a divine feminine. Richard Rod also said it's like being a gentleman. In England, he said, whenever I'm open a door for like a woman, a stranger or something, like give a seat. And nowadays people look at you like strange, in a strange way. It's not normal anymore. In a way, graciousness is a way of how just to be kind to others. But I would say in a true sense, kindness can come only from integrity. Because if kindness comes that, oh, I will just do everything for everybody, oh, I will just like be nice and we always try to make sure that everybody around me is happy and I'm just constantly give myself away, that's not kindness. That people pleasing dynamic. Because the true kindness, it comes from the heart, and in the heart we're centered in who we are in ourselves. We not just try to be nice. We, in a like bigger sense, kind that comes from accepting the life, ourselves in the life, our past, accepting the different aspects of life. It's very like generous quality, I would say, the true kindness. It comes from a big softening to all aspects of life, to creation, to the self. When there is no a savior complex in it, there is no like self-denial. There's just the feeling of treating life, aspects of life with this love and grace, and that creates this energy when you move in a soft way, and when you do something, it's like the people feel it. They feel that it's not just on the surface, that it comes from the depth, that it comes from your heart, from your being. That you're not just doing something to. Don't fall off there.
I'm just checking.
That we don't do something just to be nice or be polite. We do something because we do really care. Anyway. And as a gift quality, anyway, it comes from the open heart. The gift is always comes from the heart. And the graciousness comes when we have a moment when we choose not to react. When we choose not to project our own discomfort into others, when we choose just to stay with it, and we ask for help if we need help, but then really ask for help, not just like kind of creating a situation where somebody needs saviors. It's very open quality. It's very heart-centered quality. It's very gentle quality. It's very loving as well quality. And the love that doesn't exclude you, but it's in fact includes you as well. And it's very nurturing quality as well. And the graciousness can treat others from higher state, I would say, in a way that like don't, let's say, the graciousness don't blame others, for example, for their shadows. It just stays open, something like this. It's connected with a quality of 36 jinki of compassion. Which teaches us just to stay open in our heart through any discomfort, through any turbulence, without reacting into that. Something like this. And the graciousness is something that deeply softens you. And then when you're soft, you can feel, let's say, what the God is or what the true love is. Because it can happen only in the light state. Only when we soften in our heart and our being, then everything that our true nature, that is our true nature, it's like it's blooming naturally, like a flower is blooming. It's happening by itself. We're not forcing anything. We can't force graciousness to open. It's like I would say graciousness is like a lotus flower. And the grace, even the grace, the lotus that grows in the mud. But then it's bloom, blossom like it's beautiful, beautiful flower. There's a symbol of purity that even through the darkness, let's say the shadow of the mud, the purity arises. So
I was thinking of that when you were talking about the struggle earlier and then grace. I was thinking of the lotus flower.
How we can remain in purity even when there is a lot of turbulence. It's like this in our own life and as well in a collective level, because there is a lot of turbulence right now and in the world, and how we can remain in the purity in our graciousness, how we can cultivate this quality, I would say. Because like why this key is not easy to unlock, because we as a human beings, I say we have hard time with our emotions. We identify with all of that. We're not connected with truth most of the time. We're connected with feelings, emotions, and we believe that what we feel is truth. And instead of just moving the energy, let it move, because emotion is energy in motion. Is here to be moved, to kind of share some information with us, and then we have to pause it and let it go. But because we are in this Maya, in this illusion, we're not in the connection with our core, then emotions pull us outside of the center. And that's why we need this practice of mindfulness and contemplation, where we first just start to contemplate, okay, I feel now some tension in my mind. And sometimes it's easy, it's like always try to be aware of yourself. I remember there was like several days ago, I woke up, and before I had like a lot of intensity of different things and like work and clients and all those things. And I woke up one day and I was like, I've noticed that my mind were more erratic. Like I woke up and I noticed that my mind were creating more like stories and try to like kind of the mind tried to find a way why to create conflict, for example, with the partner. And then I noticed my mind and I said, well, today, and I was kind of brushing teeth and I said to myself, I see today my mind is in more reactivity. And there's also just simply means I'm just physically tired and I know like I just need to have massage today because there was a lot of things going on recently and I didn't have proper time for myself for rest. So now I need to prioritize this. And then first of all, it's how we create a relationship with ourselves. By understanding where I'm right now, what do I need, where this reactivity comes from, because the mind can be inflamed about something, but the real reason like can be absolutely different and not connected with external circumstances, but being inside of ourselves. So when we can be mindful and can create this healthy relationship with ourselves, then we can create this healthy relationship with others. When we also then, like when we don't react on our own mind, then we want to act on somebody else's mind. It's somebody else patterns. But if we in constant reaction on our own mind and stories and patterns and like the way how mind used to trick us, that can also be from not listening to what's important in this moment, what's really necessary, and giving other things that's kind of more important. And all these things, when we see all these ways and contemplate, and then we put things in the right order, then we can also not react into others, into others' minds. Yeah, so this was a little moment of grace. Let's have another sharing, and then we'll go into sort of graciousness. So grace. The most mysterious quality, probably. The Richard Rod himself was saying that when he was writing the Jinkies book, he wanted it to be like a classic on his mission. But then when he started to write about 22nd Jinkies, completely took him into like all the spiritual realm, and he couldn't help himself because this is what this key is about. The grace is never can be understood. The grace is the way how life interferes sometimes, and it's like a divine spirit that downloading into your system sometimes. And it's happening for mysterious reasons. And all we have to do then is to learn how to embody the grace, how to embody this frequency. And the grace also can happen when life, as I said, takes something away from us, which we think we needed or what was important for us, but or create some certain discomfort. Then we also see it as a grace. That is hard for us because we think grace when something nice happened, when finally I get something which I couldn't or like finally some resolution happening. I feel this light energy, but the grace also in the times where something not going as we wanted. Can we see the grace there as well? Because sometimes when there is intervention happening, I would say life brings to us some uncomfortable experience. Through the time, we can see that yeah, it was for the better, for the good reason. But in the moment, we feel like it's wrong. It's like I don't agree with this. Because we can't see this as a grace, because again, we're attached to our own emotions and feelings, but the grace is beyond that. And I said the grace is the energy that heals all 6 seals. It's like I said, for every seal, for every wound, there is a frequency, an angel, in fact, Siddhi, that heals it. And when I say heal, what do I mean? That the energy that's kind of transporting into our DNA that creates a certain shift in our awareness in our energy system. So, and the 7th seed of grace is the one that brings all these 7 angels together, all this energy, all these different say, mystical ways. It comes as this immediate download into our system that completely shift our awareness. For example, if we look through a transmutation of these different cells, when we transmute the first core wound of repression, it will remove all fears from our body, and it will remove all diseases from our body. When we will transmute the denial, it will remove their aggression, it will remove their the 5 polarities. When we open up the 3rd seal of shame through the love, the unconditional love, it will remove unworthiness, it will remove greediness, it will remove egoism, kind of self-egoism, just self-obsession. When we heal rejection, it will remove poverty. Because we won't anymore live as individual, I need most resources and care about others, because when rejection opens the heart to everything. When your heart is open, you can't just think about yourself. You naturally think about everything and everybody. You want to create good for everything and everybody. When we heal the blame, which happens through forgiveness, and forgiveness not only on a personal level, but on ancestral level, on like country's level. When we, this bird, so beautiful the way she did. When we, it's kind of let go of the karmic debts. That's when forgiveness is coming. It's like when the energy of the Buddhic body, the 5th body, the body of divine love, is rooted in our system. Our consciousness moves there. And the Buddhistic body is the high octave, high version of emotional body. And then there's wound of separation, which is the core of its separation from source, and believe in this separation, and then try to find all the ways to feel the union again. But in fact, the union can be only within, because first we have to come to realization that I am that. I am where I was always searching for. It's not anywhere, and it can't be anywhere, because if I try to look for it outside of myself, that means I'm already believing in this separation. And it heals with truth, like the truth. It's Siddhi of 60 surging, the truth, the absolute, not like a personal truth, but the truth as their absolute phenomenon. And then it it brings us to Atmic body. And then the grace, it kind of moves us beyond even all that to such a high state of consciousness that we can't imagine. Like it's as it a process of alchemy and transmutation, where we not operate like, and I said, it starts from the first seal, first core wound of oppression that removes all the fear. And while Sharon reminded me of when I had once like a Vasca ceremony. In fact, it was yeah, I don't know where it was, but in case, and it was a long time ago. And what happened there that my intention was to release from my system all frequency of fear. My intention was to go through the portal of death and to release all fear. And I remember when the moment of death was happening, there's this portal. That was like, like the most glorious moment. This is just such a, it's like an ascension. It's like a celebration for the soul. It's a, I can't even imagine. It was just, I thought of, if this is what the death is, this is the most beautiful we can experience in this life. But then, kind of at some point I came back and my body started to process and purge all what remains as a fears in my system, in my DNA. And that was then the hardest part for the next 4 hours. I was like, okay. The next day I was like, you need to be careful with intentions because the mother medicine will make sure you're gonna get what you asked for.
Yeah.
So yeah. So the grace is something we can't understand on, like say, from a human linear mind because it operates in another frequency, but it's a very mysterious. It's why it's the divine feminine, but divine feminine is in a way it's not what we think about. It's not about just like gathering, having women circles, which is beautiful and important part for us as a woman, but the divine feminine is that archetype of, I could say, even the void, because what Richard is saying, when also, and I agreed it, and also through my personal experience, when we move beyond all these core wounds, when we move beyond all the 7 bodies, we go to the void. And the void is, we can say, the greatest mother as well, because the void, it contains everything. It holds everything inside itself. And in order to truly become who we are, we need to go through the void. And it feels like it's sucking you in. It feels like it's kind of calling you. It's like going back into the womb. It's going back in time. And dissolving back into fractals, back into cells, and then remembering who you truly are, and realizing that all this time it was just an illusion of your own suffering in a way, because you had some stories and then you tried to play it out, have these moments of good and bad, of ups and downs, but there still was a story that is, we all have our own story of life in a way. But it's also this key saying that for every human being, it's already destined that in certain moment of life, it will be activated in certain process in DNA that will activate a call for spiritual journey, a call for searching something deeper. It might not happen in this incarnation for some people, but it's already like encoded inside. It's just waiting for certain moments, condition, and everything where it would be time for this to be released. It's the kind of sort of hormone that needs to be released. And the same what they said about alignment, that it will happen just when the time will be right.
Mm.
You can do all the practices, all the things, but it will happen when it will happen.
Mm.
And you can't force it, and you can't push it away. It doesn't mean you don't need to do anything, but if your heart feels a call of this call, but it will happen just when it will be a readiness and certain moment of time when this will happen. And this is also we can see as a grace, because the grace goes beyond time. It's a space where the time is a linear way how we used to think is not exist. Because if it's a void, it has everything inside of it. And for example, if we look through Buddhist perspective, they even said that the only thing what exists is space. The time does not exist. The time is a construct we created. So how we can manage all this, but in the reality, time does not exist. And this key is bringing us to this high levels of experiencing yourself, where is how I felt recently, that I am creating and dissolving each and every moment. In fact, in next moment, I already let go who am I, because in fact, in next moment, it already doesn't exist. In the moment, I have only what's in this moment. I don't have my past in this moment. If I don't choose to fall into it, if I don't choose to bring it, or I don't choose to try to run for the future, but if I'm really in a moment, all this exists, it was present in this moment. And the more I can ground in this, the more, in fact, I can experience what the truly grace is. And because it's not about going somewhere like high, but as I said, it's a spirit, it's invocation, it's energy that comes from above inside into you through your central channels, through all your system. And how it's showing you, it's like, it's kind of, you looked in the mirror and you never could see because the mirror was dirty. But then the energy comes and suddenly the mirror is clean and you can see. That makes me emotional. Yes, the grace just came. And yeah. Then there's no words left. Because then you see that you're free and you always have been free. But it's interesting, like, because we start the contemplation from seeing that the suffering is grace. But when we come truly to the grace, to the Siddhi state, we see that there's no suffering, never existed. Because of the true nature of who you are, there's only freedom. There is only joy. And joy is not an emotion of like, it's not emotional happiness. It's a joy of spirit to be alive in a way. It's a joy. Because the true joy, we can find equal in pleasurable emotion and in some emotions that we could see like it's not pleasurable. In fact, it's like through certain practices we can learn. And I was sometimes experiencing when I was going through pain and I was really deepening and surrendering, I could see that there is a joy in this pain. Not a BDSM. I think BDSM is something that tries to, I don't know, convert it maybe, or like try to use the principle, but in this another way. But in the like in any emotion, there is as our spirit, there is a truth, and the truth is always joy. It's never never separated. We can always come back whenever emotions we're experiencing, and we can find it. It's like a flower, it's like a lotus flower. It's always there. It can be covered with mud, but if we will look, we will see it's there. Maybe it's not open right now because it's like not the right time, but it's there. And that's it's like when suddenly the mirror clean and you can see yourself and you can see who you truly are, and you can see that all the dirt there was, all this like story suffering, in fact was a projection of your own mind, of your own separation with yourself, with the source. And the way how you try to pretend and protect this separation and this idea, and then through all this, like we go to these horrors, the different way how it's play out through different feeling of rejection or shame or blame or whatever, like the flavor that we have. But in depths of this is the reality that is truth and love. And we can always find in it. That's why if we follow our suffering till the end, and the end we find the joy, and the end we find the love, at the end we find grace. Because it's like the old roads, will always be there.
Reminds me a bit of like I'm a yoga practitioner, but I also do tantra from India, classical tantra, and that's using like certain rituals and certain processes to provoke energy to come, invite grace. Essentially, we're doing this process, and we do these things called kriyas, and they're really uncomfortable processes that push your body to extremes, and they're designed for that purpose, to push your body beyond its like limits in terms of your own like what your brain thinks is its limits. And once you break that barrier, like it's in a way it's the brain barrier, right? Then we have like an epiphany. We're like, oh wow, like I can do it. I could do it. I got to the other side. And then something happens where we receive like a confirmation from a higher power, calling it higher power. It's it's the way it is. It's inside you, but you get that confirmation, and it just it's this. I feel grace is this element of. It's a reminder from source that is the true nature of realities is there, and we can all experience that, and we just need to surrender to this what's happening. And then of course sometimes we have alignments, and I think that's also the grace, because some people can go through the same experience as someone else, like do the same actions, but they don't always they don't always receive grace, and it's not really like receiving anything. In fact, it's just noticing what's there. And I think a lot of people don't catch that in all moments. In all moments, the grace is a field. It's a field. It's the field of wonder, as Richard says, the field of consciousness that's underlying all things, and we don't notice Sometimes she punches us, and then we're like, oh, okay, wow. There's a lot of stories of Indian saints, like people who woke up to reality. I say reality, irony. There's one famous Ramakrishna who was it Ramakrishna? Oh no, it was actually Vivekananda, Swami Vivekananda. He was like a very intellectual and studious mastermind, very strong in his mind. And he had all the answers, and he thought he could never be refuted and never be put out of his own logic until he went to one master, and he was like, okay, because everyone was talking about this master. Okay, he said, oh, tell me then what is like in Vedic, in like Indian philosophy, like what is the nature of reality, and explain then and see if you are smart. And then he just got his foot and and put his foot on his head, his toe. And from that moment, he had a full-blown experience of grace. Shakti just awoke in his mind, and then he became just immediately in love with truth, with real truth, not like the truth he was making up in his head, or was really happening. And there's a lot of stories like this, especially in India. There's some weird irony in Indian spirituality, but we all have those moments. I can speak for myself. My partner knows very well, as I've shared this story like many times, but I had been doing a lot of spiritual discovery practices for like let's say before this experience happened, probably 6 years of like astute, really like I was really deep into many Indian spiritual traditions and also Christian mystical in my own inner wisdom. But I was starting to get into like kind of an illusion that it was all my way, that it was like my own journey. And I then went to India, and I received a lot of knowledge, and I created this whole idea out of my own limited understanding. And then when I went to South India, after a really, really big process that happened to me, where I worked on activating the 6 chakras, my body, my subtle body. It was well timed, but there was just a moment where even that whole month of training and doing all that process, it just dissolved into nothing in the moment of grace that I had in one temple, South India, where I was just there with one Indian who was passed away, but I felt his presence alive in his temple, which a lot of people say is some people go there and have those experiences. I was one of them, and I had no idea about that. I was completely clueless. I just walked in the temple one evening. It was a new moon, so it was any case strong, but just my heart exploded. And I didn't know who I was, what was going on. I was like, forgot my name. I was crying for hours. It's there. I think just to finish, I
You need to do meditation all the
yeah,
time.
I just to close the last second is that I think I've been fortunate to have those reminders and never give up hope when those moments come. They're there, they're waiting for everyone.
Okay, let's do a little meditation. As you can find your comfortable way. Closing your eyes. And coming back to your breath. Feeling how you sit. Stretch your spine. Feeling your hips. Your feet. And the root system that going down into the core of the earth.
Hello. Just, we'll finish the meditation. Like.
And you release everything that doesn't serve you anymore. All your emotions, thoughts, and intention. Giving back to the core of the earth. And breathing in into your system, the groundness, the energy of Mother Earth. That helps you to relax and feel safe in your own body. And inviting the energy of Father Sky, Divine Masculine Principle, come from the above. From the top into our system. Going through the central channel, down. There is a light in the heart, there is a rainbow sphere around us. We connect with the space of enlightened masters, teachers, keepers of karma, keepers of time, keepers of truth, and connect with our soul. And feeling 22nd Jinki and the shadow of dishonor. Where is it in the body? Sensations, feelings. Open yourself to receive this clarity. and to feel all that emotion that you suppressed or denied before. And give your presence and love into all the sensations and emotions and feelings, giving space to this shadow. Bringing your love in awareness. And breathe through all that and see if there are any other levels of dishonor. And breathe through this as well and just let it be. Give your love, bring your love. And see that the more presence you give back to yourself and love, the more frequency goes higher. Your graciousness. And see what the graciousness is and how it speaks with you. How it moves through you, what it brings to you. Feel this expansion in your heart. Softening. And the more you stay with it and breathe with it, the more you're open to receive a grace. You can put your palms in open position and just to ask, invoke the grace, ask it to come. Let the grace in. feeling that in fact you were never separated and you were never alone. Allow yourself to receive it, to flow through different parts of your body. Merging with grace. Seeing where you separated yourself from it, and slowly bring yourself back to this present moment with the grace. You can feel maybe some recalibration in your energy system, in your body, in your chakras. Feel the purity of grace. Make another deep breath. Feeling your body. Feeling the breath, the subtle movements maybe in your system. And make 3 deep breaths. Breathing in through your nose, breathing out through your mouth. And energy back into your body. Run the palms. You can put into your face or any other parts of the body. Amazing. Open your eyes. So we're ready to finish the close for today. You want to share what was this journey for you, the meditation? I just felt a connection to divine, to light, and felt softness wash over me, heart opening. Yeah, surrender. Beautiful. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you for joining today. Yeah, thank you very much. Okay, well, yeah, close because we